Hello everybody, my name is Tobisatsu, and today I'll be giving my thoughts on Joker, Folie. Deux. I've seen this film twice, which has given me confirmation on most of my initial thoughts on it. I personally love the first Joker film. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but the performance from Joaquin Phoenix and the overall dark and twisted undertones made for a very enjoyable character study. It was beautifully shot, had a fantastic soundtrack, and there are so many iconic moments I can appreciate years later. I really liked the depiction of Arthur's mental downfall. Anyone can have a bad day, but the lack of emotional support, both from people you know and the government system, can create monsters under unfortunate circumstances. It's also left very ambiguous, something I find really enjoyable. Did all this really happen, or was it in Arthur's head? Do people really look at Joker as an icon, or was this just his warped view of reality changing the situation? It's a fun film to theorize about. Or it used to be, at least. We'll get to that. It's a great film overall, and it holds up well on rewatch, even if some of its flaws appear with time. But unfortunately, this is Hollywood, and anything that makes an assload of money needs a sequel. With this, Joker, Folie à Deux was born. The great acting, cinematography, and music all carried over from the first. With the composer, Hildur, I don't want to butcher that, doing a great job once again with the haunting soundtrack. The movie feels like it was made on a large budget, as it should. So at the very least, the film is great to look at throughout. But it seems the most important thing, the writing, was left in the dust. Joaquin and Gaga are great, and the chemistry they have when they're together is fantastic. I was very pleased with their dynamic, but it's unfortunate Gaga doesn't get more time to flesh out. She's really not in it that much at all, and even in terms of the musical segments, she doesn't get much of an opportunity to shine. Which is unfortunate, because I think she plays a very solid Harley Quinn. Joaquin is here doing Joaquin things, acting the shit out of the scenes he's given. It's the same stuff as the first, which is great acting-wise, but unfortunate for the evolution of the character. Arthur goes through very similar character beats from the first, which I feel could have worked if done better. Listen, 2 years in jail would crush most people's self-confidence, so him reverting back to a timid state makes sense. But it takes too long for him to get where he was at the end of the first, and by the time he does, his character really doesn't change much from the prior film. Other aspects of Arthur, such as his abuse and general character, are explored further as well. Unfortunately, it's told to you flat out. No subtlety here, and it takes a tinge away from the interest of Arthur's character and life, something that was intriguing to discuss. It also makes apparent the things that happened at the end of Joker did indeed happen, ruining the ability to theorize on the events of how the film ends. It's overall disappointing what they do to his character. The story is also lacking, feeling like a worse retelling of the first film, but with different scenarios and locations. I thought the first half was decent, but the second half drags down everything, especially when you go through the same themes and ideas the first had, which were done better there. In terms of the musical segments, they're decent. They aren't really anything of note, but I do like the sets and costumes used at times. There's a lot of speak-sing, with Joaquin and Gaga performing like this for most of the film, which, especially for Gaga, feels like wasted potential. Many of these scenes feel forced, like there was a song quoted to me. It feels like people just sometimes randomly decide to sing, with the actual song numbers that are bombastic coming off more as musical quality. One in particular, involving Joker singing his grievances in the courtroom, cooks. It's just too bad there are barely any in the film. I respect the bold choice to make this a quote-unquote musical, but the failure of it makes the decision that much worse. The ending also falls flat, happening in such a way where everything feels abrupt and no real climax is built. I have some spoiler things I want to discuss in relation to this and give my reasonings of disappointment. Before that, I want to provide a quote from a favorite creator of mine, Mahler, who sums this film up fantastically. This film felt like it didn't like what people said of the first, and so retold the story and changed the ending, saying this is what I meant. Alright, spoiler time. If you want to avoid them, then leave now, or skip the time listed here. I'll give you a moment. Alrighty, let's start simple. The ending. The ending is insanely flat. In fact, the whole section after the courtroom explodes is. There's no real build-up, and honestly, the film kind of just dies. With the final scene focusing on Arthur being killed by the real Joker. I found this to be quite a huge slap in the face as a fan of the first film. One of the things you could theorize about with the first is that he may be the Joker of that universe, or that he may have just been the inspiration for the actual Joker. I liked having that be open-ended, allowing you to make your own conclusions. Personally, I like to think Arthur was the actual Joker. This is obviously now confirmed to be untrue, though. I also found the overarching idea that Arthur and Joker may be separate personalities to be redundant. They sprinkle in lines and moments that try to trick you into believing it, but it's in vain. Especially as they try to make it the main out of Arthur being sentenced to death. Of course he was going to lose the trial. I don't think anyone going into this film thought he would somehow make it out of the case unscathed. The way that I viewed the ending of the first was that Arthur had truly become the Joker, giving confidence to himself and the man he became, watching the world who constantly put him down, burn, and finally give him the attention he wanted. Never once did I think in the first that Joker was not Arthur. They're the same person. Joker is Arthur's metamorphosis. It's too bad they decided to meddle with Arthur's character, and again, in many ways, it feels like a fat middle finger to the fans. It's like they don't approve of you enjoying the character of Arthur Fleck in the first film. We get that his actions are horrible, but just because we like a character doesn't mean we agree with them. It's a fictional story. I think if this film wasn't actively berating the first, I wouldn't be so disappointed in it. I didn't have high hopes for this, as I always thought Joker needed to be a one-off story. But I had hope that as long as it respected the first and was at least average, Folie wouldn't damage the first film. Unfortunately, the complete opposite happened. I don't think it's a half-star or D-rated film like many audience members are giving it. On its own, it's fine, but when it's linked with the first, as it will and should be, it's a big downgrade. Based on my initial impressions, I give Joker Folie à Deux a 5.5 out of 10.